Hello, welcome. Today we're going to look at Wayang and the importance of Wayang in Javanese culture. The term Wayang is a Javanese word meaning shadow or imagination, and it refers to the traditional puppet theatre in Indonesia. Although there is evidence of Wayang from the 1st century millennium, from medieval texts and archaeological sites, in truth it probably came to Indonesia from India, although that's hotly disputed, and some will say it's traditional Javanese. Some would even say that it came from China. Now this is part of a new section to the magic of Java called The Real Magic of Java. In this new section, I'm going to focus on real people performing what they believe to be real magic in Java. I'll attempt to explain some of the elements of this Javanese magic, particularly what I describe as the Kejawen elements. However, I need to warn you that inevitably my explanations will be partial. Maybe sometimes some elements of what I say will be incorrect, for which I profusely apologise. But this reflects the oral tradition of magic in Java, the mystery, and at times, I have to admit, subterfuge surrounding the practice of magic in Java. Please accept my apologies, but I do hope you enjoy this new section. Now what we're going to see today is the making of Wayang Kulit. Kulit simply means skin and refers to the leather that the puppets are chiselled out of with fine tools. And they're supported with buffalo horn handles and control rods, and painted in these lovely colours, as you can see, including gold. They're anything from about 25 centimetres to 75 centimetres. Anything less than that is a souvenir or a toy. The ones that you're seeing being manufactured here are high quality and sold mostly to Dalang, that's the puppet masters, although some will find their way into stores in Jogja. But these are much higher quality than you'd find in the on the street in Malibra in Jogja, which are often simply spray painted. Now, I say they're high quality, they're not of the very best quality because they're made of cowhide, and the very best are made of female buffalo hide. A goat is also sometimes used, and I have come across paper versions with bamboo handles, but they would only be for home decoration. I believe that these hides are actually pierced and cut elsewhere and bought in by the man you see painting them. The actual performance has several components. Firstly, a stretched linen or kilia acts as a canvas, and that divides the dalang, the puppeteer, from those watching. A coconut oil lamp, known as a blenjong, or in Balinese a damar, is used to cast the light, although in modern times, particularly in Java, an electric light bulb does that. A banana trunk called a gebong or gedebong in Balinese is put on the ground between the screen and the dalang, where the figures are stuck into to hold them in place. To the right of the dalang will be his puppet chest, and the dalang also uses that as a drum during the performance, hitting it with a wooden mallet. In the Javanese Wayang Kulit performance, the dalang also often uses a cymbal-like instrument, and that's often a cue for the musicians. The musicians sit by like the dalang in a gamelan orchestra, and the gamelan is indeed a central part of the Wayang Kulit performance, and it's gamelan you can hear in the background. This will probably be accompanied by singers, the female singers Pesiden and the male singers Wirasura. The setting with the banana trunk on the ground, the canvas, it symbolises the earth and the sky, and the whole composition symbolises the cosmos. The dalang animates the puppets and moves them across the screen, although it's believed that his hands are controlled by some sort of mystical force. The lamp is the symbol of the sun, as well as the eye of the dalang. Traditionally, performances begin after dusk. In the first of the 3 phases, which is the characters are introduced, the conflict launched, and that lasts until midnight. The battles and the intrigues are the second phase, and they last about 3 hours. And the third phase is a reconciliation and friendship, which is finished at dawn. Although wayang theatres are common in Java, they're used as an entertainment, particularly at weddings, less frequently at circumcisions and at Independence Day. Now, by far the most common stories of the Wayang plays are the 2 Hindu epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, which is one of the reasons why I say they probably did originate in India, but, you know, it is hotly disputed. And the dalang will contextualise these, making them relevant to the community, to national, global, current issues. The next form of stories is the Panji cycles, developed in Java during the Kendiri kingdom, and they tell the story of the 2 Javanese kingdoms of Jangala and Panjalu, which is Kendiri. However, these are often formed using a different type of wayang, known as a wayang gedog or wayang, the masked wayang. These would consist of characters Radan Panji, Gula Chandra Kirana, Panji Simari and Anjeri. Wayang Gedog centres on the love story between Princess Chandra Kinara of Kandiri and Radan Panji of Asamaran Burakan, the crown prince of Jangala. Chandra Kiara was the incarnation of Dari Rife, the Hindu goddess of love, and Panji, the incarnation of Kamajaya, the Hindu goddess of love. Kinara's story has been given the title Samahadana, the fire of love. At the end of the story, which I have to say is complicated, they finally marry and have a son known as Rajaputra. Now, Sunan Kali Jaga is credited with incorporating Wayang with Islam, and Merek is a form of Wayang puppets that feature historic exploits of Wong Anjong Kanjanera, who is a 12th century Muslim literary hero, Amir Hamza. Merek's stories have been performed in Java and indeed Lombok as well for several hundred years. The Wayang Golek Menak tradition probably originated on the north coast of Java, Semarang, Gresik, somewhere like that, possibly by Chinese Muslims, which is where the sort of story of Sunan Kali Jaga comes from, and then spread further south, and is most common actually in the town of Kebumen near Yogyakarta. Wayang Kanchel is a shadow puppet, and the main characters are Kanchel, or animal stories taken from Hippodacia and Tantri Kamandaka. Wayang Kanchul was created by Sunanggiri at the end of the 15th century, and again is used for a medium for preaching Islam. Now there are other types of wayang. There's the wayang golek. These are three-dimensional wooden rod puppets that are operated from below by wooden rods that run through the body and the head with sticks connected to the hands. And their construction makes them very versatile, expressive, and almost imitating human dance. Nowadays, it's mostly associated with the Sundanese culture in West Java. Wayang clitic figures come largely from East Java, and they're made of wood. They cost a lot less to produce than wayang kulit. And they're sort of a middle ground between wayang golek and wayang kulit. They're made in a similar way to wayang kulit, but they're made from pieces of wood rather than leather. But they're used as shadow puppets. They're often a similar size to the wayang kulit. Now, I've not been able to find a reference to these, but I've also seen metal puppets with metal rods. But because I can't find a reference, I have to assume that these are simply toys or ornaments. Now, wayang Berber use a scroll of painted presentations of the stories being told. They're hand-painted and they're often of handmade bark. I believe that they're still being made in Patichan and Wonogiri in Java, but they're quite rare now. They're normally just handed down over the generations. They're mostly performed in sort of open-sided pavilions or auditoriums. Wayang Wong, or Wayang Orang, which literally means human wayang, is a theatre performance, so it uses human characters to imitate the movements of the shadow puppets. Often this is integrated with dance and dramatic performances. Now, Wayang Topeng or Wayang Gedog, even Kedog, is simply means mask. So it's a similar performance to the Wayang Wong, but the actors are using these painted masks. Now, it should be apparent from what I've already said that wayang are used to impart moral, spiritual, religious concepts to the audience. And of course, going back in time, an audience that was probably illiterate, and their only way of coming across these concepts. So therefore, it's no surprise that it's used in mysticism, as wayang are used in mysticism as well. And they're often used in evocation in a similar way to, say, demons, jinns, legendary people, characters, and spirits of the dead. And what you see here is Semar brand frankincense that's used for summoning Semar, although I would add not exclusively for that purpose. Also common to use wayang or statues of wayang in the evocation. Very popular in Java, and more so even in Bali, is the use of magical coins known as Gobog. These coins were first introduced by the Chinese, and in Indonesia they immediately latched on to their mystical use by the Chinese, but very slow to latch on to using them as a method of exchange. They became so popular that China restricted their export, and Indonesia began to mint their own, often with wayang characters, or copying the original Chinese, and those are more favoured, indeed still favoured in Bali, and often sewn into people's clothing, especially wedding dresses. Now, a very interesting use of wayang is by the Banjar people of Banjarmasin from Kalimantan, or you might know it as Borneo. And they have a tradition of tambang Liring paintings on animal skins textiles. Although I believe the concept is borrowed from Java. They're painted by a skilled artist with a highly spiritual level known as kaya or ulama sheikh, who's prayed and fasted to enhance the powers they bring to the object. They, as I say, they often depict Wayang characters, each of which is associated with a specific spell or outcome. This particular painting depicts Sema Mesem and is therefore probably about love magic. Indeed, Wayang characters are evoked by the painting, and you use your own spells to command them to what you desire. Now, traditionally, the eyes of the characters are painted with paint mixed with human blood, which makes the character of the spell come to life. It's believed that if the blood comes from someone who died unexpectedly, such as a murderer, the magic is actually at its strongest. Now, I said that I think it might have originally come from Java, and indeed many traditions of the Banjar people come from Java. Here's an example of a Javanese version. And you can see it's probably developed as a mystical form of the Wayang Berber. Having said all of that, I would be willing to concede that it's just copied from Kalimantan, copied from the Banjar people, because I'm not at all certain. Now, by far the most popular character in Wayang is Sema Mesem. He's a comical character, and he's supposedly based on a fallen god who is believed to have created Java. By tradition, he has three sons, known as the Pewakawans in the Wayang, and they're Garang, Petrut and Bagong. In some Wayangs he has a brother, Togog, or Hayan Atanga, who is the servant clown of the demonic hero. Sema himself, I mean, they serve the purpose of a sort of a comical chorus in Wayang. And Sema himself is this wonderful character, because in the Wayang stories he comes out with the most outrageous theories, and they're always proved true at the end. Now, he's believed to be the founder of Java and protect the Javanese, hence the mystical connections. Sema cultivated a small rice field near Gunung Merbabu for 10,000 years, long before there were any men. His descendants, the spirits of the island, came into conflict with people as they cleared the fields and populated the island. A powerful priest, unable to deviate from the king's orders to continue cultivating the island, provided Sema with a role that will allow his children and grandchildren to stay. Sema's role was to be the spiritual advisor and magical supporter to the royalty, and those of his descendants to protect the humans in Java who remain there. Now, that version conflicts with what I believed or had been told, and that is that his origin is the Jin Plateau. And indeed, there's a Chandi or temple on the Jin Plateau known as Chandi Sema. Might originally have been a treasury rather than a Chandi. However, I find that it's generally assumed by scholars that it's a name given to a temple created centuries after its erection. One genealogy of Sema is that he is the eldest descendant of God and the elder brother of Batara Guru, king of the other gods. However, Sema descended and became a man. Another genealogy says he's the son of Adam and Eve. His brother Nabi, which means prophet, Sis, gave birth to other prophets, such as Jesus, we call Isa, and Muhammad, from whom the various Western people are descended, while Sema, Sayang Sis, gave birth to the Hindus and the Javanese. Whatever the truth is, Semar is always depicted in this awkward, ugly human form, representing both a god and a clown, the most spiritually refined and outwardly rough. Others, however, particularly where I live, believe he's a reminder of us not to forget our Buddhist philosophy. Now, Semar is associated with love spells. However, I wouldn't call him a god of love, as I've sometimes seen him described. Indeed, he's so powerful he can be used for any spells, and given his role in Java, especially for protection. Indeed, Semar guards the front of my house, and whilst I've never seen him walking around on guard in front of my house, a number of people have. The Tirakat ritual is for the Semar Mesem spell, and it's carried out by undergoing Pasamuti for 7 days and reciting a mantra every night before bedtime 7 times. The final ritual of the Tikarat is to observe Pasapati Jeni, a fast that does not allow food and drink for 24 hours. Pasapati Jenti for the Semar Mesem chant must begin on the night of Tuesday, Kliwong. Kliwong is a Javanese day, so the Javanese character has 35 days. So Tuesday Klingon will occur every 35 days. So it's when the 5 days corresponds to the 7-day calendar of the West. It must be done in a closed room without any light, while continuing to recite the mantra. And you're prohibited from falling asleep, even for a second. Now, a Gunungan, a Gunung is a mountain, and a Gunungan actually is a mountain range, but it depicts a mountain. So it's a Wayang depicting a mountain. And so because it's of this sort of triangular shape, it's associated with the left and right hand paths in magic, but also the unknown. So rather like the moon card in tarot. I suppose the next most popular characters are Rama and Shinta or Sita from the Hindu epic, the Ramayana. Now it originates in India, although much of the story is in the jungles of Java, although unfortunately, apart from where I live, few areas of jungle still exist. Rama's of noble birth, and he moves in a refined manner. Rama wins the hand of Sita in an archery contest, but through the intervention of Bharata's mother, Rama is prevented from succeeding his father as king. It's therefore seen as a powerful love charm or palette. However, Rama on his own, as I say, he won in an archery contest. So when I bought this statue that you see, I believed it was Arjuna, the archer, but it's not. It's Rama, the 7th avatar of the god Vishnu. And in Rama-centric traditions of Hinduism, he's considered the supreme being. And he's about human virtues, including honestly acquiring wealth. Sita, or Shinta, or even Sinta, is the incarnation of Lakshmi featured in Ramayana, and she's associated with loyalty and self-sacrifice. Now, of course, there's many characters associated with love spells. There's many things associated with love spells, as you'll find out in one of my other videos. But we've already mentioned Panji and Chandra. Panji was a legendary king from Jagala in East Java, who was arranged to be married to Princess Chandra Kiarana from the competing kingdom of Kediri, also in east to central Java. Chandra Kirana is said to have disappeared before the wedding, and there are various Wayang and Wayang Gedog masks stories about his search for his bride. Although these stories are known across Southeast Asia, they're particularly popular in Java. And this particular Gobog is therefore very useful when seeking true love. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to fly through some other sort of interpretations. these may not be, I've covered most of the most popular characters. So they may not be the most popular of characters. And indeed, as I say, the interpretations will differ. But there's an old Javanese poem called the Samadrihana. And this features Kamajaya or Kamadeva and Kamarati or Rati. And I believe that this is particularly used when people want to get pregnant. Hanuman or Hanuman comes from the Ramayana, the monkey, and he brings strength and destroys evil. Bhima is from the Mahabharata, and he's associated with bravery. Arjuna and Shrikandi or Shriyakandi are also from the Mahabharata and associated with strength and overcoming enemies. Arjuna, as I've already mentioned, is an archer, and he's particularly associated with loyalty. Gatotkacha or Gatotkacha is again from the Mahabharata and brings great physical strength. Sadeya is from the Mahabharata and helps you to see into the future. Nukala, also from the Mahabharata, has strong healing powers. Ratasanka or Sanka is a warlord from the Mahabharata with powers to overcome. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed this. Because these are real events, I can't say how regularly I'm going to be adding to this subsection. Because I don't know how often they're going to occur. But I would imagine that they'll be at least every couple of months, maybe monthly. Now, if you'd like to know when that's going to be, please subscribe and hit the button, and you'll get information on when new ones are released. I'd love you to make comments and ask questions, and if you do, I'll attempt to answer them as honestly as I can. I promise you that there's no attempt on this channel or this part of this channel of me. There'll be no attempt by me at any type of subterfuge. I'll try to be as honest and open as I possibly can be. Inevitably, there will be some of you who disagree with my interpretation, and we can agree to disagree. But what you're seeing is real stuff here. What I'd love you to do, if you enjoyed this, is look at my other sections. Particularly, I've written novels about magic in Java, and they contain much more information in them, especially me trying to understand the theories of magic, the psychology of it, and I try and intersperse them with a sort of spiritual dimension. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and God bless you.